Yes, you
Yes!
are. Yes, you
Yes!
are.
Yes!
Yes, you are.
I get the prize. Good morning and happy New Year to you, my beautiful Radio Hall of Famer Bev Johnson. If you didn't hear Bev's or our show last month, I was talking a little bit about end of year sales. When is a good time to buy? And I did say yes, it is a good time to buy before the close of December, the close of the last quarter, the last month of the year. But if you didn't buy, you're in good shape. I'm going to talk about that in a minute. If you are in the market or you think you're going to be in the market here soon, because most people will be because we're going towards tax season. I know people get that money in their pocket, that money burns a hole in their pocket. I'm going to give you some advice of why you might consider making your purchase 60 days, maybe even 90 days from now, and not in the midst of tax season. I'm going to share with you how you can save some money, which I'm sure my seniors like Bev know what happens in tax season. The market. I mentioned to you on last month, the automotive market, we all witnessed firsthand after COVID what happened. The microchip shortage caused the inventory, the manufacturers couldn't produce the automobiles. And as you know, Miss Bev, you know about supply and demand. Cars have chips out the wazoo. They're all over the place. They control everything. Steering wheels, the window up and down, everything. It controls everything. Because the supply shrunk and demand was high, prices surged. Miss Bev, people were financing cars 150, 170% loan to value. For those who don't know what that means, is if a car is priced at $20,000 and that's the actual value of it, the bank looks at that as 100% the value. If it's actually worth the $20,000. Some people were paying $5,000, $10,000 over in that market, and the banks were financing it. When those folks go, if they try to trade out of their cars, they're going to get a big surprise. You know, folks, they sometimes, let me tailor this subject carefully here because I know we all sometimes will become victims of our own emotions, meaning we'll go to a dealership, we will see something we like, and we know that vehicle may be more than we bargained for. You may go in saying, I don't want to spend not a penny over $20,000. And you may see something you like for $25,000, but it's what you like. It's what you love. I see this all the time. I love it. And the guy just said I can get approved on it. So then, Ms. Bev, our emotions get involved, and that's the trap, I think, and not just for cars, for anything. When you buy something, your emotions get involved, and sometimes we will make a decision that we have what they call buyer's remorse the next day, the next week, or the next month. It happens. In Memphis, in most cities, most states, most dealerships do not have once you buy the car, drive off the lot, you own it. I believe CarMax is probably the exception. There may be some other shops, other dealers, independent shops that may allow you to give you some days to return it back, CarMax being one. But when you drive off, you do own it. And if you buy that car, I try to emphasize to my guests, even when I was on the ground selling, Miss Bev, if I see a guest, I know their situation, I would, even though, believe me, y'all, I was a sales guy, I wanted to get that sale. But in the long term, I wanted to make sure I have a happy customer, because happy customers, they return, they shop with you, and they send people to you. And that's why I was blessed and was so successful, because of those return customers. But sometimes you have to pause and think about it, and it's okay sometimes to say, let me go home and think about it. You will be surprised, Miss Bev, how that sometimes can even save you money. The dealer may even bend on the price. They may not know fully why you're leaving. What the dealer is scared of is that you'll leave, you'll go to another dealership and buy a car. And believe me, that happens. But I just want to caution you that when you're out, and Bev, let me also say this before I forget. We're going into tax season. Unfortunately, there are going to be some folks who are going to buy some lemons. You know, it happens every year. And if you're on this under the sound of my voice, if you are a Bev Johnson WDIA listener, try to avoid buying cars on these Facebook marketplace, especially in tax season, because you have people, believe this or not, you have people wanting to scam you. Whatever that scam is, always some kind of new scam. It's better, in my opinion, in the tax season, to shop with someone you know or a reputable dealership, because someone is going to get taken advantage of. It happens every year, unfortunately. Let me also add, and just in case most people know this, when you buy a vehicle, Miss Bev, and you throw a book at me if I'm blind, Miss Bev, when you buy a vehicle, as soon as you drive off the lot, that vehicle immediately loses value somewhere between 10 and 15% immediately. And the people who know this the best are the folks who drive off and try to trade it back in 30 days later. Mm-hmm. The other item is, in 3 years, it loses 45 to 50%. And by the time you pay it off, that vehicle is lost somewhere between 60 and 70%. Ms. Bev, before we go back to the phone or the email, I want to talk about a subject here that's pretty significant. If you just tuned in, we're talking cars. We're talking buying cars. We're heading into tax season, and I want you to be cautious. If you think you're going to be in the market in the next 1, 2, 3 months, I want you to be cautious, because as you know, tax season is coming. Folks will be getting large bits of money, burning a hole in their pocket. The folks who are going to be entering the market, when you go to a dealership, if you go to a dealership between now and March, dealers are not feeling this wholesale pinch. Well, let me rephrase that. They're not discounting the cars yet. It's showing up first, as this gentleman pointed out. In the last 7 weeks, people are spending less money at the wholesale. Now, if you don't know what a wholesale is, dealers go to wholesalers to buy their inventory. So I want you to know that the market is coming down. Dealers may try to pretend the market is still strong. And I want you to know it's not true. The market is coming down. Now, you have some individuals, some dealers who just want to hold to their price, and they're going to get caught if they don't sell that vehicle, because the banks are going to stop financing. As I mentioned in the before the break, banks in late 21, pretty much all of 22, and a good part of 23, banks were financing up to 150% loan to value. I've even read some lenders were doing 170% loan to value. And just so you know what that means, here is an example. If a car is actually worth $20,000, and your bank will know that by the books, the blue book, the black books. If it's actually worth $20,000, that's what they consider 100% loan to value. After COVID, the banks were lending because the market demanded it. The prices were jumping up. There was a high demand. Banks were financing 150% and more. So the folks who bought their vehicles in late 21, anytime in 22, and a good part of 23, they probably thought that they were getting a good deal. But I've got news for you. When they go to try to trade that car in, hopefully they're not trying to trade it in the next 2-3 years. They're going to have a lot of negative equity trying to get out of those vehicles, unfortunately. Now, here's the good news. For those of you who decided to wait to buy, your season is the front door of a new market. The soundbite that I just played you, it shares with you that the prices at the wholesale facilities, they're not getting what they were getting. They're paying less. The dealers are gonna feel that. If they don't sell what they bought the last 2 or 3 months. If they don't unload that in tax season, and believe me, they're going to do that, but I'm going to tell you the strategy of what you need to do to get the better deal. If they don't unload it before the end of tax season, they're going to be stuck with vehicles they're going to lose money on, big money on. What you need to do is, if you're in the market for a vehicle in the next 60 to 90 days, by all means, go to the dealership. By all means, find the vehicle you want, test drive it. But just know, even the dealers that say that we don't negotiate on price, believe me, friends, that they will say that. Believe me, if you'll find, as an example, you will work a deal with the dealer. If the bank, they have you, let's say a vehicle is priced at $25,000, you really want that vehicle. But let's say your credit is not sufficient enough to get that vehicle with $25,000. Let's say they go and get a deal worked out. You're bringing a down payment. Let's say a bank would approve that deal, but the bank will approve it with your down payment, $23,500 is what the bank will finance. The dealer is going to reduce that vehicle down without you asking from $25,000 to $23,500. And they're going to say, look, they're going to come out and make it seem like it's all because of you, you really want this vehicle and we love you, we're going to sell it to you for $23,500, when really the bank, that's all they're going to finance it for. So the dealers in those situations will reduce the price without you even asking. That happens, friends. Ask any reputable dealer or anyone in the business. They'll tell you that happens all the time. But when you go, here's that strategy. When you go to the dealership in the tax season, find the vehicle you like, work the deal out, but just know they may not say we're going to reduce the price, but just know it's negotiable, because the smart dealers, they're watching those wholesale numbers. They know that they need to unload that inventory or they're going to get stuck with it and they're going to lose money. So going into this tax season, just know this is the start of a market that has changed. Don't let any dealer fool you. Here is another safeguard too, I always say. If you have a relationship with a bank or a credit union, and if you don't, please establish yourself with a bank. Preferably, I prefer you to get a relationship with a credit union. When you go to a dealership, you like a vehicle, ask the dealer to provide you a copy of the buyer's agreement. As a matter of fact, if you really want to look sharp, tell them to fax that over to your credit union. Now, the dealer, as most of us know, the dealer makes money when they sell the vehicle. The dealer also makes money when they finance the vehicle. The dealer would prefer to finance the vehicle because they make a point or two in financing. If you go to the credit union, it cuts the finance guy out. So they would like to do the deal in-house. This is the reason why they push that, because they make more money. They can sell. They make a point. They make a point or two on the entrance. They can sell warranty, make money there. They can sell some other goodies, some wheel and tire stuff to make money there. So the dealers are profitable beyond the sale of the car. You know this. Your credit union will protect you. They will. First off, they're going to know the actual value of the car, and they're going to keep your loan to value in line. Also, they will likely provide you a better rate. Now, don't get me wrong, and I'll share this. Miss Shirley Mormon, good friend of mine, she used a very tactful strategy. She got her credit union involved, came in ready to do the deal with that financing already set up. The dealer, however, wanted to do everything in-house. In order for them to do that, they had to beat the credit union numbers. So she just won in every angle. The cost of the vehicle, the interest rate, she won in every angle. So high salute to you, Miss Shirley Mormon. I love sharing your story because that was a very strong move that you made. But friends, going into this tax season, I see it every year. Someone is going to call me. Someone is going to tell me they bought a vehicle off marketplace or somewhere online. They're going to say something to the fact that the seller said they didn't have the title, they're working on getting it. Friends, do not buy a vehicle from marketplace or individual that you don't know, have no relationships to, they don't have a business front, and they don't have the title. you will get caught up in some foolishness, to be quite honest. You may not be able to find that person again, even if you like the vehicle and it's your dream car. Stay clear of marketplace in tax season. And speaking of dream cars, let me give you this here. My young people especially. Most people have a dream car in mind. My advice of when to buy your dream car is when you can buy that vehicle and your interest rate is in the single digits, meaning 9% or less. And if it's a new car with 0% financing, that's the way to go, or cash. If the interest rate comes back at 20%, somewhere thereabout, that, my friend, should not be your dream car. It's more like a daydream car at that point. Now, if you're in a position to where that's the only option you have, you don't have a co-signer, you can't come up with more money, and you're trying to, I guess, reestablish your car credit or just get your car credit going. I myself, when I was on the ground selling, there is a strategy for that, friends. Pay attention here. The strategy is, if you're in a situation, and again, the dream car, 9% or less. But if you're in a situation where that car is, and again, if you buy it and it's still your dream car, but your interest rate is 20%, you want to keep that car and finance it at least 13 payments, no more than 24 payments. And the reason why I suggest 13 payments is because if let's say you buy that car, you make on-time payments on that vehicle for 13 months. That means in your credit file, the 12 payments will show in the credit bureau as paid on time, and it's most likely the bank will approve you on your next vehicle. So 13 to 24, 18 is a sweet spot. You trade out of that vehicle, preferably in a new vehicle with a rebate, because you're going to need it at 20%. You're going to have negative equity. Most folks, unless they put down a heavy down payment, will have negative equity at a 20% interest rate. Negative equity is an example, just so you follow me, because I know everyone is not car folks. If the vehicle is priced at $20,000, it's worth $20,000, and for this example, let's say you didn't put any cash down, you've got to finance the taxes, you've got to finance the processing fees or dock fees, whatever the dealer throws in there. And that's that loan to value. You're actually financing more than the car is worth. And if you didn't put any money down, that's going to be negative equity at the end. Some folks trade in a vehicle that carries negative equity over, but you get the idea of negative equity. So that is the strategy. If you are in a position to where your rate is 20%, that's the only route you can go. Keep that vehicle 13 to 24 payments. 18 is a sweet spot. Trade out, get into your next vehicle. That vehicle, if it doesn't get you down to single digits, it'll get you closer. You keep a car, pay it off when the rate is 9% or less. The bank won't make a killing off of you at a 9% or less interest rate. Let me also interject this also. The market right now, as far as interest rates goes, even the folks with great credit are seeing higher interest rates. And I believe we talked about this last month on last month's show. When rates are high, keep this in mind, this is for houses, cars, boats. When rates are high, prices come down. And it's also the opposite. When rates go down, prices go up. So you may say, rates are too high, I'm going to wait. But just know, friends, this is a time where dealers may pretend they don't negotiate or won't adjust their prices. They will. They will. You have to be willing to walk away from the deal. I have seen a customer's mind, and they were serious about walking away. It was no game. They were working a deal, something they weren't happy about. Sometimes the management will catch them before they leave in their car, bring them back in, and either give them the deal or got really close to it. Some folks, unfortunately, have to get all the way to their house before the management says, you know what, let's go ahead and do that deal. But you have to be patient, my friend. Now, I was a salesman, and the salesman, he just wants to make a sale. So I was talking to a friend of mine, a customer of mine earlier, and he asked the question, they suggested when I buy the vehicle, I can trade it in 8 months. And I says, God bless him. He's trying to make a sale. When they say that they're trying to make a sale, I get it. I've heard it myself. I would always say something, because I've actually traded someone out at 10 months. Friends, you can do it. It's just tough unless you're bringing in a lot of down payment or there's some kind of new incentive on some new vehicle. But 13 payments, I believe, is the at least if you buy a car, you don't like it, you don't love it, just keep it for 13 payments and then work on trading out of that vehicle. But let me get back to this point here about the tax season. Especially my young people or my seniors who are listening, make sure you tell your children, your grandchildren, when they get these tax refunds, the dealers, the scammers, everyone knows this. And by the way, because I know some of my seniors will probably call and validate this, people always say dealers raise their prices in tax season. Now, that it may be some truth in that, but this is why this happens. There is once again, supply and demand. The dealers have X amount of vehicles on their lot. Tax season, there's a big demand for those vehicles. And yes, they can hold their prices better in tax season, because if you don't buy, it is a good chance someone that will come in and buy that vehicle. That's a risk you take. But friends, stand your ground. Don't get too emotional about these car deals. Be willing to walk away, because walking away, it may be more time involved, but that's how you save. If you're not a good negotiator, that's the best tactic. If you're sitting at a desk, let's say you're a young lady, you're not real good at negotiating, the best tactic is just thank you for your time. Let me go home and think about it. That's a negotiating tactic that doesn't require any skill. And the dealers do not want you to leave, because they know if you know that you're approved, they know you can go somewhere else and buy a car. And they're going to do everything they can to earn your business there.
And you're right. So before you drive it off that lot, you're saying, really think about if this is what you want. I'll tell y'all, if you really want an electric car or any car,
yes,
you need to be sure.
That's right.
Because once you take it off the lot, you said, Terry, it depreciates. And then a lot of times the salespeople, they don't want to take it back, do they?
Well, if there's myself, my way of operating was different.
Yeah.
I would sense if someone if they were on the edge. Mm-hmm. And I would tell them, go ahead and sign up for it, leave it. Because it's not yours until you drive it off the lot. Even if you go to the finance office, you sign all the paperwork. And they says, okay, it's outside, ready for you to take it. No, I did all the paperwork. You say it's mine, so just put it in the back and leave it. Because if you don't drive it off, it's not legally yours until the cameras are watching. They watch you when you drive off. So if you're feeling skeptical, even after you sign all the paperwork, just leave it. Because if you never come back to get the vehicle, they have to tear that stuff up. They can't force that on you. Also, just another little side note, my good credit folks won't have this problem. Let's say you're at a dealership and they want to get the deal done, but they need what they call a stip. And a stip is like they need a check stub or they need a proof of residence. If that's a requirement from the bank and you didn't have it, but they delivered the car and you get home and you have buyer's remorse, don't bring the stip back. Just say, look, I don't have the stip. Here's the car. And that's another way. That's a technical way that you can get out of that car deal if you don't produce all the paperwork. Now, dealers are smarter these days. They'll try to get all that stuff up front, so it'll be tougher for you to do that. But on occasions, it's missed. And that's a technical where you can get away from under that car. And also going to Vel's point, too, when you buy a car and drive off, it's going to lose 10 to 15%. If you come back the next day and try to trade that car in, you're going to be upside down. Let's say you paid $30,000 for it. You come back the next day, 10% of that $30,000 car is worth $27,000 automatically. There's nothing you can do about it. Now, there are some dealers, I believe CarMax is one of those dealers that will allow you to bring it back in a certain amount of time, but most dealers don't do that. They don't have to do that. On certain situations, they will. I've seen it to where they will, but it has to be a situation. It needs to be explained properly of what's going. I mean, but that's far and few, because they know if they do that once, it's gonna feel like it's gonna set a precedent. So they just do not like to go that route. So if you buy a car, just know that it's yours.